her story and answer some more tough questions. I'd like to start by asking you all, how many of you have seen the documentary on Netflix? Thank you. So, Indrani, you've created quite a chatter with this documentary, though when you first saw it, you kind of sent me a message saying, I'm slightly confused by the documentary.
Well, I think, you know what had happened once I saw it, I actually didn't go through comments, though some of my friends had said that, hey, listen, you should go to a couple of, you know, online platforms. I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on Facebook, thankfully. So I'm really not aware of it. I was a little bit confused that why would people get upset if I choose to come out and talk about myself. So that was one. But what it made me realize, you know, that there has been a lot of rejection, there have been failures, but that has never stopped me from betting on myself over and over again. And I must continue to do that. I will always continue to bet on myself. So that is, you know, where I am right now. Yeah.
I'd like to set the record straight today on certain things. This documentary was not commissioned by Indrani Mukerjea. She did not pay for it. She had no creative say in its content. And she saw it for the first time when it released on Netflix. She was one of our interviewees. If you're wondering why I am conducting this interview, my name is Chandani. I was executive producer on this documentary and I worked on this for almost 2 years. And so I'd like to start out by playing a small promo for you. Can we have the first clip, please?
Happened to Sheena.
Breaking news just coming in. Media tycoon Indrani Mukerjea has been arrested by the Mumbai police on charges of murdering her sister almost 3 years ago.
It's a case that has confused, fascinated, and shocked us all.
What is the precise motive that could have led Indrani?
Extremely unique. Everybody has got their individual agendas.
Sheena, who yesterday we thought was Indrani's sister, has turned out to be her daughter.
स्टार्टिंग में अगर एक झूठ ब्रॉडकास्ट हो जाता है, सबको ये जानना जरूरी है कि पहला सच है क्या.
Peter's son, Indrani's daughter are involved.
The son of the current husband is seeing the daughter of Indrani's previous marriage.
The family themselves, they're leaking a story a minute.
Do I believe someone within the family knows what's happened to Sheena? Absolutely.
What a stupid question.
Thank you. Indrani, why did you think that was a stupid question?
You know, first thing is, I think the very fact that I have pleaded not guilty, to ask me that question over and over again, I think is itself a very stupid question.
Well, but you are a prime murder accused in the Sheena Bora murder case, and it's a question that I think not just us as filmmakers wonder about. It's a question that is there in everybody's mind. So, you know, I think it's a pertinent question to ask.
Perhaps it is, not perhaps, it is actually. But, you know, my take on this whole thing is that this case is sub judice, and the very fact that I'm sitting here right now, or I have even chosen to do this documentary and come out and speak. You yourself, I mean, it's come out on the slide at the end. You have approached all the accused, and for various reasons, which I shall not talk about right now here, and it's your privilege to talk about it. They have chosen not to do it. And I do believe very honestly, and this I will say, that where on one hand, Rahul Mukerjea, for example, professed all along that he loved Sheena the most. This was the biggest platform for him to come out and talk and to reach out to the world, which he did not do. So I don't think anyone should grudge me for having the courage to come out and talk about it. So that is one. The other thing is, Chandni, I shall continue to remain true to myself, which is very important for me, irrespective of what anyone else has to think about me.
Does it bother you what people think about you?
No, it doesn't. See, if it did, I would not have really come out and spoken. At times it can be very annoying, but I do believe that, people do have a lot of time, to definitely talk about me. And it's a case which has been out there in the open. And there's been a lot of hype. I've gone through a media trial earlier. And I suppose this documentary has again brought me out in the open to I've put myself out there again for people to talk about me. But that's all right. So, at the same time, I also believe that a lot of people are making a lot of money on the back of this documentary. And it's, not just, I think, Netflix or the production house. I see a lot of memes. I see, in fact, somebody showed me a very interesting, I'm not on Twitter, somebody showed me a very, very interesting comment that day, that very soon she will be getting a Padma Shri because, I got that, Top Achievers Award. And I think perhaps I should, because I did contribute to the media, because in the last 8 years I've been really a hot topic in the media, and a lot of channels and newspapers, everybody's got TRPs and made a lot of money because of me. So that's, despite not being an Indian citizen, I think I've contributed to the economy of India, I think.
You say it doesn't bother you what people think about you too much.
Yeah.
But you passed off your kids as your siblings all your life. And it is been spoken about quite a lot that you created this world, you moved on, and if it didn't bother you but what people thought about you, then why did you do that?
Actually, Chandni, if people have read my book Unbroken, have any one of you read the book at all? No, okay. So there's a book that I have written which is published by HarperCollins. It's called The Unbroken. So please go and read that, because whilst the documentary was shot for almost 6 days, I mean, I spoke for 6 days, but it's obviously got a very limited within a limited time. So there are just about a few dialogues of mine which could be really put up in the documentary, but you'll get a clearer perspective. And so I actually did talk about it in the documentary also, the reasons behind why my children had to take my parents' name. And the reason was, of course, one is connected to Sheena's paternity, which is when it started. I don't want to kind of talk about it again and again, but since you all have seen the documentary, I think many of you are aware of it. And when I was myself very young, I was not even an adult. That was the time when Sheena was adopted by my mother. And again, I reiterate, it's my mother who had adopted her. And so that is where it all started. And in all her school records, it started off basically as my mother's daughter. And after my son Mikhail was born, that was the time when I think he was just barely about 4 months old. My mother decided that my father had to come back home. And that was really it. And I really could not stay in the same house anymore. And I knew that I know it may kind of seem, perhaps, on hindsight, it feels that I could have maybe, I should have maybe stayed back. I should have taken care of my kids. But at that point in time, as an 18-year-old, I thought that I could not deal with that situation anymore, and I left. And that was that. And I never looked back. For 10 years, I actually never looked back. No, that's actually not true. In fact, about 3.5 years later, I did go back to take my kids. Once I had completed my studies and I had joined work, I did go back. But then I neither had the resources, nor did I really have the ability to fight and take my kids back. And they were very tiny. Sheena and Mikhail were barely about, I think one was about 5, one was about 3.5. And actually the strange part, and it was quite heartbreaking actually, because when I went back and I got to meet them after about 10 days at my grandparents', and they didn't recognize me because they didn't know who I was. Mikhail was a baby when I left. And that was the most heartbreaking moment for me. And I came back. And I was still 21. I was still very young, even then. And post that, I never really looked back till my parents wrote to me for financial help. And I could have just chosen really to, just send a check every month, Chandni. That is what I could have done. But I chose to bring my kids, to Bombay. Mikhail wanted to go to Bangalore, so I put him in Bangalore International School. Sheena wanted to come to Bombay. I brought her there. But their life carried on as it was. And the other thing that transpired in this whole thing was Peter was at that point the CEO of Star. You asked me about the...
I want to break it up a little bit because I am aware of your journey, but because I want to do it like a question answer.
No, you asked me why I continued with that. So that is the point I was coming to. That why I continued, because the moment I told Peter that I wanted to bring the kids here, I mean, the first option was obviously for him, he was still the CEO of Star. It was because of him, okay? So it was a mistake. I chose the man over my kids. It was that at that point.
So when this letter came to Star, which is the question I want to ask you. You told Peter that these are actually my kids and I want to bring them out. Did you say that they're my siblings?
No, the letter was there. And Chandni, also I want you to correct, I want a correction there, which I have written in my book. I've spoken about it. I know it's a bit it's a private thing, but I think since... everybody here knows everything about my story. I've had 3 cesareans. For anybody to just say that, he didn't know they were my kids is, oops. It's just that.
No,
okay,
one sec.
But
the cesarean story,
the
cesarean... I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you. There are two things I'm going to ask you. So just hold on to the cesarean scars. The first question I'm going to ask you is a little sensitive, and but you have spoken in your book and in the documentary about the fact that when you were underage, your father raped you, and Sheena was actually the child of your father. But since the documentary has come out, and Mikhail asked this question actually as a counter to this, because he heard the story for the first time from us when we went back after your interview, and he said, if that was the case, why would Indrani leave 2 children, one of whom was a girl child, with her very molester and walk away?
I'll tell you very honestly, Chandni, at that point, like I said, it was, on hindsight, it was, I think, a very selfish act. But for me, it was a question at that point, a question of survival. Whether it makes me a bad mother, whether it makes me wicked, perhaps, not perhaps, it was a wrong decision. It was. And, I think my kids have been lucky that nothing happened to them. But I would have killed myself, Chandni. I would have. I don't think I could have stayed there for... just the thought of it was very, very harrowing for me. And I could not deal with it. I just could not. You know, some people run away, some people go and kill themselves. But I did at that point, as a 18-year-old, actually I was 19 almost, what I thought it was, right for me, I did that. At that point I did.
Okay.
And I continued even post that, sadly enough, like I said. Even when Sheena and Mikhail, though I wanted them close to me, I wanted them by my side, which is why I got them to Bombay.
No,
right?
I'm going to play devil's advocate on this story a little more. And I appreciate that you have never shied away from asking any question I've asked you.
Answering.
Whether it's on camera or it's off, always. When you were arrested, Siddharth Das was under no pressure whatsoever to say that both the children were mine.
Yeah.
But he always maintained that Sheena and Mikhail were my children.
Yeah.
We've also gone back and met a lot of friends from Guwahati who were both Mikhail and Sheena's friends. And they say that the grandparents were very loving. They used to be there for every PTA meeting. They were always there. So there is this whole narrative after hearing your story out there, and it's a very, very tough and painful thing I'm saying to you, where people are saying that you perhaps are using this story to deflect attention away from the murder case. What would you say to those people?
Well, actually, this entire story had not come out now. This entire thing had come out, if you go back to an article in Quint, which was the moment I was arrested. This Quint had done an article in 2015 which talks about this entire episode. So I would really urge anyone who has not read that article. It's an interview. It's not an article. Actually, there is, I think, a 1.5 hour interview, which I think Quint had gone and met some people and they had spoken about it in Guwahati. And that is not just my understanding. It's out there on the net. And so I did write about it. And obviously people have their opinions, and sadly enough, these are things that are very difficult to prove. I have said what I've had to say, but this is not, again, connected to the case. This is a part of my personal life. The essence of this whole thing is that I think people get very confused at times in between. Let's talk about Indrani Mukerjea and then the case. There are two parts to it. So the case is, about sadly I am the accused. And sadly here there is, we are talking about the life of a person, though I still choose not to believe that she's not there anymore, because until and unless I have concrete evidence that she's not there anymore, you're aware of the DNA report, what has happened, you're aware that they've come with two bodies.
We're just, I actually have something to say about the DNA report. I want to ask you, did Sanjeev Khanna know that these were your children?
Absolutely.
And so Sanjeev knew, and with Peter...
And so did Peter.
No,
I'm
but did you tell him
that.
in so many words, or are you maintaining that because of your cesarean scars, he should have known that you had three kids?
No, of course he knew. He knew all along, and I've written it very clearly in my book, and also the letter that arrived. The letter didn't come to me. At that point, I had an office in Phoenix Mills. I was still working. I was still running my HR firm, and the letter had gone to Peter. So that was the time he had come and spoken to me.
So just for everybody here, when Peter and Indrani got married,
Yes.
there were newspaper reports, and the children back home and the grandparents in the newspapers saw that they had got married. And then a letter was written for the first time in so many years to the Star office by Indrani's father.
Yeah, that's
and
correct.
it was addressed to Peter. And that's the context of this letter and Star and all of that. So now carry on, please.
Yeah. So that was that. And obviously Peter panicked more than anyone else. Now what? Now, I'm here and, now everyone's going to know about it. And that was that. So for me...
he's not here to defend himself. And I can't really... I don't have a counter for it. You say he knew, and it's a very he said, she said. He always maintained in the media that he did not.
That was initially, right?
He always said that. He's always, as far as what we've heard and read and all of that, and he didn't interview with us. He has always maintained, and he's not here really to give a counter. So yes, okay, it's you say that he knew. Are you in touch with him?
I do meet him at court, but no, otherwise I'm not in touch with him, no.
So one of the things, I just want to say something about the C-section scars, though, okay? Because you've said this, you said in the documentary, and
I've written it in my book, and I've said it in every
Indrani,
single
when
interview.
when you have scars, which are C-section scars, and so it's not like the doctor gives you like one scar like this and one like that and one like
I do have them.
You just
I can't show it.
They kind of cut along the same scar.
No, they don't. Actually, I don't have it like that. So that is because my first two babies had had vertical scars, and then it was Vidhi, which was, I know I shouldn't be talking about all these. So,
no, but because it's so important for you to talk about the scars, and like I say, I'm playing devil's advocate today, and I am.
And actually, the first time, that is when I've written it in my book, and I think women are sometimes, more smart about these things than obviously. So it was in one of the interviews that the CBI had come while I was still already in judicial custody. And while we were talking, I don't know how, I think they'd pulled out some reports, and then one of the lady officers had said, "Oh, so you've had cesareans, is it all cesareans?" So I said, "Yes." And then she said, "Can you come with me to the Jharti room?" Okay, Jharti, just in case you don't know, is a frisking room in prison. So I had gone in, and then obviously she did. And then she came back and she said, that, I think Peter's lying because, all her scars are all I've written about it in the book in detail about that particular incident because she spoke about those distinct scars, and it was, I think, almost a week later, Peter was arrested, actually. That is how, I don't say that Peter was arrested because of the scars, but that's not what I'm saying. But that is, left to the investigating agency why they decided to arrest him. But I'm talking about the conversation, which I have very openly written in my book about that,
So you always said he was the love of your life, and, you had a great marriage, you had a great relationship. And then, but now, after you've been released on bail, you've been talking about this great betrayal. Like you feel very betrayed by Peter. Would you explain what is it that makes you feel this betrayed?
No, I feel extremely betrayed, I'll tell you, for two reasons. One is, the day I was arrested, there are two things. One is, apart from Peter, nobody knew where I was going that day. That was one. And he obviously vanished for 2 hours. And then he vanished completely from my life. He never came to visit me in prison. And then I wrote to him from prison saying that, listen, what are you doing to get me out? Because obviously I was in a state of shock. And I just went in with just one set of clothes. And then I started receiving letters from him to say that, listen, you need to transfer this to me and that to me because you're going to be in prison for a very, very long time. So why don't you do all these transfers? And that was one, of course, but that really didn't get me going. I mean, to that extent. And then I was very ill. He didn't come to see me. And then I received a letter saying, hey, listen, I didn't come to see you in the hospital because I didn't want the media to see me there. And then I started receiving letters about him planning to celebrate his 60th birthday. And that is when, seriously? I mean, your wife is in prison. And it was only later one of, our society manager came to depose in court. And I didn't know till then. And he said, he said it in court to the judge the day Indrani madam was arrested. Peter wrote a letter to the society to say that because there was a property which was, I was arrested a day before my younger daughter's 18th birthday, and she was to receive a property which is worth a lot in crores. So, and he said that he wrote a letter that stopped the transfer. That's to Vidhi. And that is when kind of the penny dropped. And then later, of course, when the CBI came to see me, there were a lot of things about him moving jewelry, moving money. And then I said, hang on, your wife is arrested on charge of murder, and all you can think about is moving jewelry and moving, money and stopping a flat transfer on the same day. So that was,
But what if he was just protecting himself? I mean, it seemed like he
For
believed
what?
from day one that
from what?
From you. What if I'm just thinking it's true.
Yeah.
That what if he actually did believe, and it seemed like he did believe that you had done something like this, and what if he was just protecting himself, his own interests?
No, protecting himself from what? On the day your wife is arrested, all you can think of is write to the society to stop her. I mean, anybody, hearing this news, let's say if I was in Peter's place, let's say, the tables were turned, I would have done everything possible first to get him out. Why would he think that, why would you think your spouse would, commit a murder? For what? That is, I think that itself is a very, very, telling statement. That why would you go, and if he was so kind of disturbed about it, let's say he's protecting, do you really plan your 68th birthday? And then he also writes, which I showed you some letters about, how much he loves me, and, and Romeo and Juliet, he's my Romeo, and I know they're so funny, but I don't. You've seen those letters, right? You've seen them, so you know.
Okay, so you did have some great love, and then now it's all Mukerjea versus Mukerjea.
No, but all this great love is after I went into prison, right? So, but then he never came to see me till he got arrested, and that was when I saw him in court for the first time.
Okay, I want to read out something to you, and this goes back to your DNA thing. This is from the first charge sheet. It says blood samples of Indrani Mukerjea and Mikhail Bora was sent to FSL Kalina, Mumbai for conducting the DNA test with the bones collected from the place where the body was exhumed. The FSL report number, whatever, dated, and report number, whatever, dated, disclosed that DNA matched to prove that Indrani Mukerjea is the biological mother of DNA of femur bone belonging to the skeleton, and she is also the mother of Mikhail Bora. Now, this seems to be pretty definitive in stating that your DNA matched those of those bones found in Raigad.
So, Chandni, since you're talking about this one sheet of report, Mikhail Bora obviously Mikhail is very much there, and his blood sample and my blood sample is definitely going to match. I would be very surprised if it didn't match. And but as far as this femur bone goes, now this femur bone is supposed to be my biological daughter. Yeah, so This is the report, which is it's a half-page sheet. Now, I know, for me, this is like the new normal now. I never knew what a DNA report looked like. So when my lawyer, that time it was Sudeep Pasbola, he saw this report in the charge sheet, which was a half-page report. He said, seriously, has the CBI filed this as the DNA report? I said, why? You know, obviously, I told you about this, that I cried and cried and cried my eyes out for the first 1.5 years because I believed that report was right. But that report doesn't obviously clearly prove, it doesn't prove anything. It proves that, at that point, it proved that my daughter was not alive. That was the proof. That doesn't prove that anybody has committed a murder, a DNA report. Okay, just for clarification, right? But no, hang on, let me finish on this.
No, but it did prove that she's dead.
No, that was the half-page report. So till then my lawyer asked me a very, very simple question, that Indrani, since you have hired me to defend you, I need you to tell me whether you have done it or not done it. The same question that people still ask me, and I reply now, it's a stupid question. I didn't say that to my lawyer. So he said that I have asked you this for a very simple thing, that I am going to defend you irrespective. But if you tell me that you have done it, then I will know what not to ask for. And if you tell me that you have not done it, I am going to ask for every single piece of paper and everything possible to ensure that you are not just acquitted, you are acquitted not because of lack of evidence, but you are acquitted because I need to prove that you have been framed and the evidence is fudged. So I told him, of course, that I have not done it. And that is when he filed for the raw data of the DNA report. So what is the raw data of the DNA report? Is, like everybody's aware of what a cardiogram looks like, right? So it is a graph where you have the coordinates of the x coordinates and the y coordinates. Similarly, when any biological exhibit is put into the machine, which actually determines the graph that gives you the allele numbers, which is the x-coordinate, and it's the peaks of the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. So the DNA, that's called the electropherogram, which can be only machine printed. So you can't decide, I'm going to make a drawing and that's going to be the DNA report, right? So, and it has to be all the 15 peaks, which are called the allele numbers, of exhibit A needs to match with exhibit B. So exhibit A, let's say, is my blood sample, and exhibit B is the femur bone of that alleged skeleton, and I think they had done another cervical vertebrae, some remains. So these are the two exhibits which they had put into the machine. So obviously, my DNA report is completely machine printed. So when we got the electropherograms, what we saw, this was very funny, so I will tell you about it just in a minute. So then Mr. Lade, who is supposed to be the DNA expert, came to depose. And my lawyer, Sudeep Pasbola, brought him to the stand and got him, and he obviously very pompously stood there, Mr. Lade, and explained how DNA report is prepared and how the exhibits go into the machine and how every single allele number, the peaks, are machine printed only. So that he continued to repeat, and he said 15 allele numbers have to match the other 15 allele numbers. And it was only after that that my lawyer pulled out the electropherogram and said that, Mr. Lade, is this the electropherogram of the femur bone, which is supposed to be my client's daughter? So he looked at it, he said yes, and then he said, but hang on, you said that it needs to be machine printed. So he said, yes, but he said, this is not machine printed. Because what had happened in that electropherogram is that out of the 15 allele numbers, 7 allele numbers, the peaks, were cut out like as of scratched out, and the coordinates were handwritten to match my blood sample. And then he was asked, he said, are these, but these are handwritten. So he said, oh, the screen was not okay, and some nonsense he gave. And then he said, so Mr. Lade, who did this? So he said that I can get a handwriting expert. So he said, I cut out the allele numbers. So basically, the allele numbers were cut out on that electropherogram with, in his own handwriting, the expert, and he admitted that in court.
Yeah, we went back actually and asked this question to a lot of people, and they said simple bureaucratic problem. A certain type of printer was not available, another type was available, but that was just something someone said. And why don't you ask for another DNA report?
Well,
the bones are there, you're there, Mikhail's there. It's if it really does prove that those don't belong.
Well, it's already proved, Chandni, so I don't have to prove it all over again. Why am I going to try to prove it? First, they come with 2 bodies. The thing is also, again, the very fact, I don't know if you're aware of this again, because the post-mortem report says that allegedly they had found a skull, a skeleton in 2012, and a post-mortem report was done. And the doctor, his Dr. Thakur, had done a post-mortem where the skull was cut open with a saw. There was a circular cut made, and the skull cap was opened to check the brain matter. And then prosecution came and produced an intact skull in court. So either there are 2 skeletons. This is the first time. This is unheard of. I've heard of murder cases where, bodies have not been found. But this is the first time one has, found 1 murder and 2 skeletons, 2 bodies. It's almost like, inky, pinky, ponky, if this doesn't match, it's this. And sadly, the first skeleton of 2012, there is no DNA report. There is nothing to say that it is my daughter. Now, on the second DNA report, now this has happened, and they cannot kind of get away with something by saying, oh, printer kharab tha. We had somebody, one of the experts, who said, ये सब छोटे-छोटे गलतियां हो ही जाते हैं. And I remember the judge saying that, do you even know what you are saying? Are you seriously saying this? छोटे-छोटे गलतियां हो जाते. This is a question of our lives, So these छोटे-छोटे गलतियां, basically, Chandni has really gone out to prove that what a shoddy job has been done.
I have a couple more questions to ask you, and I did give you a fair chance to kind of explain what had happened with the DNA and all. Around the 23rd and 24th of April, when the entire the charge sheet says is when the murder happened. And on the 23rd, a day before, I just want to play a small clip, and then I'm going to come to a question. Can you play a clip for us, please?
Please ask the question about the media report about Indrani's call records showing she was in Raigad on the 23rd.
You're not denying the fact that the land was seen.
23rd the land was seen. That was it.
ठीक है. Whoever knows Indrani knows that she is addicted to buying properties there was an agricultural land which she intended to purchase. That property, when she had a look at, she came back and was seriously contemplating buying that.
It is just basically, we were looking at we are
Strange coincidence that
no, it was not
the area that they're claiming Sheena's body.
But
is
everyone
found
who
is the
lives in
same
Bombay
area
looks for
that-
property there, so to kind of build their farmhouses. Everybody has farmhouses there.
So my question to you is, and in the clip, Indrani and her current lawyer, Ranjit Sangle, are talking about why she was in Raigad a day before. And Raigad is where the body, they say that they recceed and then allegedly recceed, allegedly the body, I'm quoting from police sources where the body was, found. What were you doing in Raigad day before on the 23rd? Because there are 4 coincidences around the 23rd and 24th that I'd like your reply on. So would you tell us?
Absolutely. All right. So first, Chandni, let me clarify something. This is the call records that they talk about. This is not in Raigad. Now, I think since y'all are from Delhi, y'all are not very aware of the geography there. So this is in a place called...
the call record.
I will tell you. I'll tell you where it comes from. So this is in a place called Khalapur. There is a bridge, there's a toll point in Khalapur. Okay, so that when you cross that, wherever you go, whether you go to Pune, whether you go to Alibag, whether you go to Goa, if you drive, okay, you cross that particular point. Okay, that particular point. Which happens, there happens to be a village around that called Raigad. Pen, Raigad, whatever. Okay, so now the thing here is that in 2012, there are, I think, about 26 or even more, because obviously we've ourselves done a thorough this thing of all the phone records and everything. Starting from January till December, even though despite the fact that I don't live in India, almost 25 times we've crossed that place. Okay, not just me. I'm pretty sure the whole of Bombay crosses that place. And not just that. For example, very recently, just 2 weeks ago, I again crossed that place because, I went to a friend's farmhouse, Savina's farmhouse. You know Savina very well. So whoever lives in Bombay crosses that place again and again and again.
But you're saying you were in Raigad looking
I didn't
for
say,
a farmhouse.
I didn't say Raigad.
You said Raigad. All Bombay people have, a lot of Bombay people
have
farmhouses in
there.
Raigad. You said
Did I say Raigad?
in the clip?
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
Raigad is, that area. Yeah.
I didn't mention any call records because I know that they're not in court. I played a clip where you're very clearly in your lawyer.
No, I'm telling you. So, because Raigad has now become the hot topic there, but people do have a lot of farmhouses there, and in and around that area. So whether it's Panchgani, whether it's all
were in that area.
Of course, I was on the 23rd.
So you were. That's what I'm saying. So coincidence one is you happen to be on that area on the 23rd.
Like many other days. Okay, so it is not, that is what also I want to clarify. So it is not like, every time you go to Gurgaon, for example, and there's a murder happens there, or a person disappears in Gurgaon, doesn't mean, no, it's not that last week or 2 weeks ago I didn't go to do a Reiki. I just went to a friend's house.
Okay, coincidence two. What was Sanjeev Khanna doing in Mumbai on 24th?
See, I think, you should ask that to Sanjeev, okay? Because I will not answer on Sanjeev's behalf.
You know what he was doing
but
in Bombay. Why was he in Bombay?
I cannot. I've told you this even in the documentary. You asked me this question. I will not answer on behalf of Peter.
Okay, what was
or
Mikhail
Sanjeev.
doing? What was Mikhail
You've asked Mikhail the question. You should ask Mikhail. So I will not speak on
So
their
on
behalf.
the 24th,
See,
I didn't
will
ask
tell
you what happened that day.
No. Even if you ask me, I won't tell you.
I know.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
know
yeah,
because they're
yeah.
guardrails and it's sub judice.
I
So
can't
I'm
tell you.
commenting on the coincidence of the fact that on one particular day, Indrani Mukerjea, who did not live in India, was in Bombay.
Yeah.
Sanjeev Khanna, who did not live in Mumbai, but lived in
No,
Kolkata,
I can tell
was
you
in
about
Bombay.
myself. I was there.
No,
I can tell
I'm
you.
just
Yeah,
pointing
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Mikhail Bora, who lived in Guwahati, was in Bombay. And, from the tapes that are out there, we know that that is the one day that you did meet, according to the tapes, you did meet. You haven't said it, you say that it's coincidence. So I'm just drawing up the chain of, or at least commenting on the amount of coincidences around the 23rd and 24th.
But also, you know what, Chandni got left out in the documentary, which is very, very important. And I really want to talk about it because what is really, really baffling is that on the 26th of April, my daughter actually disappeared on the 24th, right? On the 26th of April, and it is an admitted position in court, the entire day, Rahul Mukerjea and Peter spent the entire day with Shamvar Rai. And it is an admitted position because of call records, and they were all confronted with the call records, and they have admitted it, that yes, both Shamvar Rai has admitted. Isn't it very odd that on one side, Rahul Mukerjea says that he saw Sheena with Shamvar Rai, and he does not ask Shamvar Rai what happened to Sheena.
I cannot answer for Rahul, Peter, Shamvar Rai.
No, I am asking you.
Fine, fair. You're saying that there's a coincidence on 26th
No,
as
it is. There are lots of coincidences.
Why do you dislike Rahul so much?
I do not dislike him, but I do
You
not
did not
feel...
like him at all.
No, that is incorrect. Okay, there are certain things I may feel that, he could have done differently, but those are my opinions. But there is this thing of like and dislike. That is, so I've never disliked him.
Vidhi in her interview,
he can say, but my feelings are my feelings,
but she's
right?
Fine. But she was witness as a child, and she
but
had
she
no
also
skin in the
said,
game.
but she also said that he made it very difficult.
May
right?
I? Yes. May I? Please.
If you can play the clip.
May I complete my question? It is said that right from the beginning, and Vidhi is the one who's told us this, he made it very difficult for you, never accepted you. Yes, he was rude to you, and you did not like him from the beginning. And then you were very, very angry about the fact when Rahul and Sheena started to see each other. So I ask you again, why did you dislike Rahul Mukerjea so much?
I think Vidhi has answered your question. I don't think she said I disliked him. Okay, what she said very clearly, and if you can play the clip, she'll tell you that Rahul found, despite the fact that his parents were separated for 13 years, it could have been me. In fact, Rahul wrote a huge apology mail to me, after that it could have been you, it could have been anyone, in your place. That this thing is also on record. He found it very difficult that his father got remarried. That was one thing, and which is all right. That's his, he was young. He was 19 years old when his father decided to.
Why did you dislike him so much?
I will tell you.
I want to know about you. Forget what Rahul, Vidhi.
I will tell you. And what I realized is that over a period of time, despite the fact that I tried very, very hard from my end to make things comfortable, make him comfortable, make Peter comfortable in this entire scenario, I realized that the harder I tried, I think the more resentful he got with the entire situation. And that is when I almost I don't want to say what Vidhi said it very nicely. Mom said, F it. I don't want to say that, but I just stopped actually working on that relationship. To be very honest, I stopped working on it. And I had no time. At that point, I was working 16, 20 hours a day. So when you are saying that, I don't think anywhere Vidhi says that I disliked Rahul, because I haven't seen it in the documentary.
No, it's a question I'm asking
no,
you.
No, I never disliked him. See, even today, I don't think I really dislike him. But I am, after seeing all the messages that I have seen, which have been retrieved from his phone, it breaks my heart to see, I mean, which you have, of course, not put out in the documentary for reasons which are, I think, all best known to you. You know it very well that Sheena had sent him messages saying that I do not want to get married to you. I'm feeling very pressurized. And she repeatedly went on saying in her messages to him, which was well before she disappeared, this was in the month of February, that I want to be back with my mother, and he was trying his best to stop her. So that and these things have not come out in the documentary.
He's not here. It's a case
it's
that's
not.
ongoing.
He's not here. It's all there in court.
Do you really believe?
Yeah.
Do you really believe that Sheena Bora is alive?
See, honestly, I don't know, because till I don't meet her myself, I can't give you that answer.
So why do you keep talking about it?
I don't talk about it. My job is, if somebody informs me, my job is to inform the investigating agency, because when your crime branch, she was an ex-crime branch police officer, she's still a police officer. Now, when she claims that, she's not somebody who's just going to do some loose talk, right? So she came and said that, yes, I have spotted her. I did the right thing. I was still in prison. So I made it a point to write to the CBI director to say that, look, this is the information I've got. So please investigate. And she was being a police officer herself. She said that they really need to rush it because they will be able to find CCTV footage. But they just sat and sat and sat on my letter for 3 months, after which I filed an application in court, to which they took another 3 months to reply, and 6 months and the footage was gone. So the second time, when somebody else came and told me that she was again spotted, and she gave the footage on her phone, which the honorable judge looked at the footage. And that is when he said, hey, listen, and that also the prosecution objected. Oh, no, but, we can't, how can the investigation is closed? How can we go? The judge looked at the footage, whatever was on the mobile, and he said, no, you don't want it, so let it become the defense evidence. So we got the CCTV footage from the airport, like wherever this lady claimed, and it's in a sealed envelope. So my point is that when there is more than one person who has come and said that she's been spotted, I cannot understand the reluctance of, an investigating agency or prosecution to really go and find out. I mean, that whole Kashmir thing was the best opportunity for them to prove me wrong. That was their biggest opportunity. So,
because it sounds like such a far-fetched story.
No, that does not matter, Chandni. The point is when there is, the person who came and said this is one of their own. Okay, so it is a police officer.
But she was with you.
But that does not matter.
She was in prison at that time. She was not accused herself.
So what? There are so many accused. How many?
Okay, but it does sound like a far-fetched
No, maybe. I haven't met her, right?
But it just seems a little disrespectful to a girl who's dead. That's all.
Well, Chandni, till the day, I don't really find enough convincing evidence to believe that she's no more. I'm not going to accept it. Okay, so that is for me, and this is my, honest thing as a mother, because I do want to believe she's alive. For everyone else, it's just so easy to say that she's dead. For me, it is not easy to accept it, Chandni, because I have not found I cried and cried and cried for the first 1.5 years. And also, let me tell you another thing, I mean, since, there is...
we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So,
no, but this is a very important thing that I need to address, because a lot of people believe that, in the documentary, I was without emotions, I was very stoic in my expressions. I honestly do not believe that I need to cry in front of the camera. And very honestly, since Chandni, you have spent time with me, you have seen my tears. And I think you have seen a lot of my tears. We have discussed a lot of things. And you have comforted me. And I must say this today, that it was Chandni when I came out of prison. I know, and this is not to embarrass you, Chandni. She was one girl who came and told me that, listen, because I was a little bit nervous about doing this documentary, because I was in an emotional turmoil at that point. And I really owe it to her today that I did this. And she said one thing, that, listen, because I was like, that was one day I cried and cried and cried when I met her. And she said that, are you going to hide in one corner and cry for the rest of your life? Or are you going to come out and tell your story? And I am really glad that I did it. And this is to, again, all the people who think that, I look stoic, I could perhaps have come out as a narcissist. That is what some people believed. Some people even thought I looked wicked, but let me tell you something. I refuse to play to the camera. I refuse to cry. I will cry and grieve in my own way. And not just because my daughter is missing. Okay, my daughter is missing. I don't want to believe that she's not alive. I don't have any evidence that she's alive or not alive. But I am going to grieve in my own way, in my own moments, when I need to. And I will continue, like I said, to fight for myself. I will continue to look for her. Don't ask me how I am looking for her, because, that is really not something I want to talk about. And I am going to continue to bet on myself, because I may fail, I may succeed, but I will continue to do so. And I am going to continue to also be a voice for the likes of me, the people who are awaiting justice, or people who I can really bring the stories out, whether it's in the form of books, whether it's in other, I think very soon I'm going to, of course, announce my next book. I will perhaps call it The Mother of All Mysteries. And there is a lot happening. And that is, again, not about myself. It is about, and it's true stories. And about people who have had the courage, really, to stand up. And because I firmly believe that, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I shall not give up. There are days, yes, I may need a strong coffee. There are days I may need a day in bed. And there are days, I may cry. But I shall not give up. And I will win. I will do everything to win. I will.
Thank you. For those who haven't watched the documentary, please do. It's called Buried Truth, the Indrani Mukerjea story on Netflix. And we want to end with a clip of yours, which you put up on March 8th, which, is very interesting. And I think you're kind of showing... So that's a new philosophy then, is it?
Yeah, I enjoy dancing. So I think it is a stress buster for me. I'm fighting a few battles, as you know, and I am doing a lot more things. So I do believe that I shall continue to contribute to my own emotional well-being, to my own physical fitness, and to the growth of my knowledge and overall growth. And I would continue to contribute to myself and the likes of me, I think, who need a voice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sitting through this session. Thank you for being
so
so
much.
upfront.
Thank you for listening. Yeah.